Looking at the NPFL games that will be going down later today, we look at the Oriental. A lot of interesting fixtures. When I was looking at it, there's a way we look at NPFL fixtures and you can easily tell that the home sides will win. But it was difficult to call for the game between Kano Pillars and Shooting Stars, Katsina versus Remo Stars, Kun Khalifat versus Enyimba, and then Nasarawa United versus Enugu Rangers. But on paper, you would expect Abia Warriors to beat El Kanemi Warriors, Plus United to beat their opponents, Ibarao FC, Rivers United to win, Warri Wolves, Wiki Tories, and Ikorodu City to all pick up wins at home. But the other games, Kano Pillars, Katsina, Kun Khalifat, and Nasarawa, quite unpredictable Pius.
Yeah, it's quite unpredictable, and I would agree with you in some of the fixtures. For that of Abia Warriors, I think it's quite easy to predict because they've played 3 games at home this season. They've won all 3, so I don't see them dropping any points in front of their fans against Economic Warriors. Economic Warriors who have actually picked just 1 point away from home. That was the point they picked against Ikorodu City. For Ikorodu City and Bendel Insurance, that game looks like one that might be tricky for Ikorodu City. We also know that Ikorodu City have not actually been so fantastic this season. Where they ended last season has not been where they picked up from this season. They've had only 1 win this season. I think that was the home win against Barao FC, if I'm not mistaken. They've also lost once this season to Niger Delta. That's the 4-2 away loss. And they've had 5 draws in the NPFL this season. So Ikorodu City's form has been inconsistent. That of Bendel Insurance is quite similar to that of Ikorodu City because they have also won only 1 game this season, and that's against Niger Delta. They won 0 win, they won at home. They've had 3 losses, and of course they've had 3 draws. Just this week we heard that they've suspended their head coach, and of course our friend and brother is now in charge as an interim manager. We don't know what will happen. And of course, we also hear that he has reshuffled the team that traveled in the last 3 matches under the last manager isn't exactly the same team he's taken to play Ikorodu City in Lagos. So that game might be quite a tricky. I really don't know how that game is going to play out. But if I would fancy any team to win, it should be Ikorodu City. But then looking at their last games, of course, like I said earlier, just 1 win, 5 draws this season. You really don't know if they're going to pick up maximum points or dropped 2 points in front of their fans. So if it's dropping 2 points, it will be good for Bendel Insurance. And of course, picking up maximum points, it will be good for Ikorodu City to revitalize their season. For Rivers United and Bendel Insurance, Bimdigo has said a lot about Rivers United. Unbeaten this season, 3 draws, 4 wins. I expect them to win against Bayelsa United. For Enyimba, away at Kun Khalifat. Kun Khalifat has been the weakening points of the league this season. I think everyone has managed to, even Remo Stars have managed to even beat Kun Khalifat this season. So I think Enyimba might just get something win this season, and that was I think that was against Academy, if I'm not mistaken, and they've lost games, 4 losses and 2 draws. So I mean, Enyimba also unbeaten, 3 draws, 4 wins, 4 draws, 3 wins. I beg your pardon in the league this season. So they are also on that good run of form. I fancy Enyimba to get a point against Kun Khalifat today. Katsina Remo Stars is one game I am looking forward to seeing because Remo Stars have not been good travelers. In fact, I think for Remo Stars the fans need to start. I mean, pressing the panic because where they ended last season is where they have continued from this season. If you recall last season, I kept on talking about the fact that they don't score a lot of goals in the first half of they take the first half as testing ground. They just try to express themselves, and in fact, all the games they've played this season, apart from 2, the game against the first leg against Jilimaju and the first game of the season against Rivers United, those were the only 2 games they've scored in the first half of this season. If you take a look at Remo Stars' way of play, the first game was against Rivers United. Rivers United went ahead first, and Victor Mbama had to quickly equalize. That was how the game ended 1-1. They didn't score in the second 45 minutes. Against Jilimaju, the first leg, they scored 4 goals, 2 in the first half, 2 in the second half. That team was a very weak team, so anyone could have scored goals. But in every other game they've played this season, all their goals have been in the second 45 minutes. Some of the games, they will leave it as late as 90th, 88th minute, 70th minute, which is beginning to become a worry for me. Because if you play against teams who can they're quite lucky they're playing in the Niger playoff. Because if you play against teams who are fast-paced, who can play the game in the first half, you probably be unable to come back in the second 45 minutes. They take first half as, they're enjoying themselves, and the second 45 minutes, they try to become more expressive. Maybe it's something the coach will probably look at. Maybe he doesn't know about this start, But I'm just telling him right now. So he probably look at this and of course correct some of these things. So that's another tricky game for Ramos. I don't see them picking up 3 points against Nasarawa United because that's also another place where they will go, and of course they might not get anything in return.
All right, so looking forward to exciting fixtures in the Nigeria Premier Football League, and definitely it promises to be exciting. It promises to be thrilling and filled up with a lot of suspense, and not to forget beautiful goals. Well, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation surrounding the Nigeria Premier Football League. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. It is still in the game on New Central TV. We are still talking about the Nigeria Premier Football League. And before I let Pius go, I'm going to ask, do you think it is too early to be sacking managers who are not doing so well? It is just match day 8. Don't you think they should be given a second chance to progress with the season, at least the first half of the season? Then if they're not doing so well, then you can sack them. Don't you think it is too early?
Is that question for me?
Yes, Pius.
Oh, okay. Well, in my own opinion, yes, it's too early. But then again, you can't actually neglect some of the bad run of form of some of these teams. If you take a look at the way they've played, and of course the way they've been able to manage some of their results, you probably say, yeah, maybe the sack might be well. I mean, coaches are sacked everywhere in the world. Some are sacked after 2 games, after 3 games. We know how the last coach of Bayelsa United, Erik ten Hag, was actually sacked. So it's normal everywhere in the world. It's just the way you'll be able to manage some of the results and of course the style of play. I know this question is linked to Bendel Insurance and some of the other coaches that have been asked to step away this season. For Bendel Insurance, it's a case study for me because I have followed the coach. The manager is actually a good friend of mine, and I've actually followed his team very, 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 very well. Just 1 win this season, 3 losses, 3 draws. The last loss was actually at home in front of their fans, and that was the reason why he had to be excused. Maybe for me, it was quite early, but then again, if you take a look at the investment the club has actually made this season, they let a couple of players leave, and of course they attracted a couple of other players. If you take a look at the investment, and then the fact that most of these clubs are state-owned, the pressure to always win is always on the chairman of the club or the commissioner of sports of the state. So they always want to win. In fact, if you cannot do anything away from home, make sure you hold your home tie very, very seriously. Bendel Insurance were able to do that. A draw at home, a loss at home, it's not good enough for a team like Bendel Insurance. And then you've seen the criticisms coming from the last season, from 2 seasons ago, when they had Mondo Digi as their manager. So they've been able to soak all of these things. And of course, if they are doing so badly in the Nigeria Premier Football right now, it's safe to say that the manager will be let go. He is always, the manager of every team is always the sacrificial lamb for any state-owned club in Nigeria Premier Football League. So if you are going as a manager to any state-owned club, you should know that you must always be the sacrificial lamb, regardless of whatever happens. Whether the fault is from you or not, you will be the one to be excused. Right. And then the players sometimes will actually be getting some of the receiving shares. I don't want to go into the player because some of the news you are hearing is the fact that some of these players have not been paid since the league started. You know, that's a matter for another day, because when we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But the fact on ground is that some of these players have not received 1 penny since the league started because of bad results. So, I mean, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So you probably wouldn't blame them. It's a government-owned club, and then when the government puts you there, some of these governments, these governors use these clubs as a CSR. So it's just a means of, okay, my club is doing well for the next election, and all of those shenanigans that happen in Nigeria Premier Football League. But let's not even go into all of that right now. But it's just, sometimes you say it is well deserved, sometimes it is not, depending on the scenario. Definitely.
He who pays the piper takes the tune. I say thank you very much, Pius, for joining, and always a pleasure having you on the show, talking Nigeria football and other things happening across the world of sports. Thank you for joining.